of the Stomp the Bus podcast. I'm your host, Mark Harris, alongside Colton Dodgson, and we're just making it through the week. Colton, how's it been?
I'm surviving, Mark. Big game coming up on Sunday, so just trying to make it through. Of course, I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns and the whoever they're playing on Sunday. That's the game I'm
Right.
referring to. Or actually, I'm referring to Clippers Cavs. Huge game coming up on Sunday, so looking forward to that. Just trying to make it to that game. But other than that, Mark, I just have recognized that I think Nick Wright is kind of stealing your look a little bit. I was watching him spew terrible takes
Uh,
because I like to torture myself, and I kind of did a double take for a little bit because he was doing that stupid long hair thing. It looks terrible on him. It looks terrible on you. Just kidding. It looks good on you. Um, but he was doing that like long hair thing, right? And today it started to curl. I noticed it's like curling at the bottom a little bit, kind of how like yours
yeah,
does that. When the
yeah,
beam is not on and you're not kind of like guiding it, I suppose, it does curl out more when you let it go
right.
free form. So I noticed it's doing that a little bit, and he has this little like goatee thing going on too. Um, and I just want to let you know that your takes are significantly more um I don't know. I enjoy them much more, let's say that. So at least you have that going for you.
I'm
And
glad,
it
Colton.
and
Thank you.
you're finally like
Means a lot.
he's ripping the look off from you. So that's
Right.
big.
I mean, he probably watches the show, and that's where he got it. Like, let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, that's true. Can't stand the guy. I can tolerate you. So that's how I feel.
Oh man. Well, with that, we are off and rolling. Episode 26. Uh, coming coming a bit later than usual, but here we are. Um, yeah. So what's crazy is that ASU is actually in the mix for a high end quarterback really late in the process. If you haven't been following the Jaden Rashada story out of Florida, um, long story short, he signs. I don't know the details of whether he actually signed or not, but I think he signed but got it released or whatever.
Yeah,
But
he signed his
he
letter of intent and then requested for it to be released
right,
after they pulled his NIL money.
right, because he was initially promised $13 million by one of the Florida collectives, and when it actually came time to like be official and like whatever, like for it actually to get done, at the last minute, just the money didn't come. So, I mean, I don't even know all the details of it because it's all, shrouded in NIL. Uh, the thing is with these numbers, like it's so hard to know what's actually real. But apparently, people have seen the contract and said it was like 13 million over 4 years, but it was just too good to be true, I guess. And
Yeah, and I mean that peels back another layer to this whole NIL era is it's 18-year-old kids kind of taking these boosters at their word. And I think
yeah,
this whole system is so new that maybe everybody is kind of caught up in the hysteria of it. And I hope that I mean, this is the first time this has come out, so hopefully this is a wake up call for everybody
right.
else. But I hope there aren't more instances of adults pulling the rug out from under kids after trying to woo them to their respective schools.
Right.
Um, a sad situation, but it sounds like he's going to bounce back. He's got a lot of interest, and it's incredible that ASU seems to be maybe family legacy has something to do with that, whatever it may be. Um, ASU seems to be one of the most commonly mentioned teams in the running for Rashada. So that's uncharted territory, or not uncharted, but that is territory that was charted a long time ago and hasn't been visited for quite some time. being
Yeah,
in the mix
totally.
for
And
a notable recruit. So
right, right. And he's listed on 24/7 Sports as a 5-star quarterback. He's from Pittsburgh, California. It's just outside the Bay Area. His dad, Colton, you mentioned that his dad Harlan Rashada played for ASU in the 90s. Pretty sure he was on the Rose Bowl team, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But regardless, that I mean, that means he's obviously had like some exposure to ASU. But I don't think that like the father going there is like he wasn't considering us until recently.
yeah, no, I know. I
So,
don't
but
know. Yeah,
maybe in this instance it does.
yeah,
Tipping scale.
maybe. Maybe
Right.
he's looking at it from a different angle now, given everything that happened with the NIL debacle at Florida. But speaking of NIL, one thing I want to touch on real quick, as far as Rashada from Mike Farrell Sports, he mentions he has a little blurb on the latest recruiting rumors that he's heard. Looking for a date on this, January 23rd. So it was published yesterday on Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Um, it's just talking about how he took the trip to Arizona State this weekend. Found a picture from Dominic Willis on Twitter. Looks like he's the linebacker coach at Highland. Of him and Jaden Rashada outside of the Tempe Zips. We did some detective work, me and Mark. We found the reflection of a Mill Avenue street sign in the back, and of course the beautiful Zips branding on the side of the building.
Colton is very, very familiar with the Mill Ave Zips.
Yes, I know the Mill Avenue
It is a great
layout.
place.
I worked there. I played there.
You work there?
Yeah, I worked at the Jimmy John's right there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I
So
remember that, but
so
I
I'm
didn't know
a
you were. Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm a veteran of Mill Avenue myself. Would
Sick
not
brag.
Yeah, no, would not mistake those trash cans anywhere. So I deduce that this picture was taken on Mill Avenue. And I can tell you right now, if I went on a recruiting trip to a place that had zips, and I'm coming from a place that does not have zips, and I'm not as familiar with their offerings, and somebody puts a golden focaccia in front of me, I am asking for my letter of intent with the check.
Sure.
So that's how I feel. Hopefully, Jaden Rashada has a similar palette. It does not look like it. Um, he looks a little more slender than me, or at the very least, he can actually work it off, and he doesn't just stock his golden focaccias like I do.
Right.
So there are my recruiting insights from this Saturday. Hopefully, they were insightful. But yeah, it looks like they had a good trip. At the very least, he was here, which is
Right.
huge. So,
Right.
but he says if it's NIL driven, he won't land at Arizona State, which is an interesting wrinkle to this.
Well,
Um,
can you read the rest of that blurb? Because I do
yeah,
think
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
little stipulation.
So it says TCU this upcoming weekend, while Washington, Utah, and Cal remain involved. If it's NIL driven, he won't land at Arizona State, as Dillingham wants to build culture and not lean on NIL for recruits. The best chance for a big NIL payout is Washington or Cal, it seems.
Interesting.
So
Cal
Pac-12,
surprises me, but
yeah,
I feel like Cal's super like they're super desperate.
the Bay Area money, man, and
Yeah,
that's
but Cal
where
doesn't
he
have any
stands.
like how many like like I feel like Cal doesn't have like rabid boosters.
No, yeah, I don't think that portion of Northern California, Silicon Valley,
Right.
really cares very much about. I don't know. Maybe they do. I'm just speaking speculatively here. Speculatively, I think that's a word.
Right.
This is all speculation. That's a better way to put that. But yeah, I don't know. It looks like Pac-12 is heavily involved, which is
Right.
cool. The allure of TCU, maybe. I know Garrett Riley just left TCU, so maybe that changes things a
Well,
little
they have
bit.
Sonny Dykes, and like that's a good coach to learn under. But I
Right.
mean, yeah,
But what I'm saying is like that system that worked so well for Max Duggan might look a little different. Maybe that uncertainty there causes, I don't know. Obviously, it's a layer to this, but yeah, it's cool to just be in the mix, and I hope you enjoyed Zips. If they went, maybe they just posed outside of it. Who wouldn't?
Right. For sure. Well, and also Williams on his Twitter, it says he's from Pittsburgh, California as well. So
Right, right. And
that kind of
he's a local
ties it up.
guy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's cool that I mean this is and I don't know how involved he is. Obviously, we're just looking at a picture, but if we're to assume like he was on the trip in some capacity and didn't just stop to get a picture with him or whatever, um, or like came out to talk to him. I don't know what the context of this picture was, but I don't know. It's cool that if they are, obviously they've set the precedent of high school coaches being involved on Dillingham's staff and all these other things. But if they're kind of leaning on the high school coaches from around the valley, I think that's really going to help with in-state recruiting. Maybe it doesn't help with Rashada as much. Maybe
Right.
they knew this guy was from where Rashada was from and invited him. I don't know what the context of this photo is. Obviously, all speculative. All that I can tell you for certain is this is on Mill Avenue. So
Right. No, and yeah, I mean he was in Tempe visiting this past weekend, the 21st and 22nd. So, hopefully Dillingham gave off a good impression, but the whole big thing about this for me is that the fact that Rashad is considering us, it's all about Dillingham. Like, and it's the fact that Dillingham established a relationship with him while he was recruiting him at Oregon. And even though Dillingham didn't get him, they still had, somewhat of a relationship. And I mean, he's recruited so many guys. Look at he was. This was the same thing with Dante Moore, who now goes to UCLA, but he was committed to Oregon up until Dillingham left, basically. And so even if Rashada doesn't come because TCU was literally just in the national championship game, so they have pedigree. Washington definitely has more money than us, but. And who knows how, and it would be tough to not go to Washington at this point too, like with DeBoer. But the fact that like there are some other things that are pointing in ASU's direction, and that being Dillingham, Dillingham, and then I'll put like 7 to 8% on the fact that his dad played at ASU and he's familiar with it and all that. But uh, I remember our mutual friend Kalen sent it in a Twitter group chat that ASU was like in the mix. It was one of the original tweets, and I was like, "What? Like this has to be a joke. Like, well, he's not gonna go here. He was at Florida, recently, and I know he's from the Bay Area, but like, I guess, and it's crazy that this is even coming up, um, and so who knows how the NIL situation is going to play out with this. Uh, I understand why some coaching staffs are, not wanting to lean on like NIL for inducing recruits because then it can like maybe that does have a creates tension in the locker room. I don't know. I'm not a college football player with all the NIL going on, so I can't really like. It's hard for me to put myself in those shoes because I don't know how I would react. But I understand why ASU doesn't want to be like, how do I say this? Like ASU doesn't want to like buy play. No, that's not the right way of phrasing it. Like,
or let the money talk. They want their culture to talk.
well, yeah, but I guess like being like over promising and like just like all hype and all that, because like think of all the schools who have made the most noise with NIL most recently, like in the past year or so. It's been like Miami
A&M,
and Texas A&M
huge
and
swamp.
yeah. And that's not to say like Bama and Georgia aren't using NIL. Like of course they are. But it's not like and Florida NIL. And you know, look at how that happened and like uh you could say Oregon too. I wouldn't put Oregon in that category though. So it's not a 100% thing, but um it's like for what I was saying earlier, like Bama and Georgia pay NIL and Ohio State has NIL, but it's
But
more
they're
like
also Alabama and Ohio State. Like
yeah,
the money is part of it. The money isn't the whole strategy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can understand why, like, well, ASU probably doesn't have like however many millions it would potentially take, but I just don't know. Like, we don't know how much money these collectives actually have, and like, I was listening to a podcast earlier today with it's the it was with Dan Wetzel and Pat Forty, and
Hey,
one of
no
them
free
was like,
plug.
yeah, no, that's good. But basically, like one of them mentioned that like, is someone gonna continue wanting to pay millions of dollars out of their own pocket just for some quarterback to be kept on the roster or whatever? Like, it just feels like there's different ways of getting it done, you know. So I don't think that this means it's like ASU is like paralyzed in NIL. Like, I'm sure are we like, is Elijah Badger still here? You know, like, if I'm sure he's getting some NIL somewhere, or like, you know. And the other thing, apparently Florida has like two collectives, and like it's like more messy relationship with the school, at least with ASU. I feel like the Sun Angel Collective, it's very like partner with the school, even though it's not technically supposed to be. But you see at like football games and at, basketball games, you see the banner advertising in the
Yeah,
state.
it was at the cathedral. I remember
Yeah,
seeing that.
yeah, yeah. Uh, and it's they're promoting it, and and it's the one singular one, like, go to this specific place instead of, because I can imagine with all the different websites, and like especially for a fan base like ASU too, like you need to have it as organized as possible, and so uh I'm kind of feeling less like, I feel like ASU's NIL collect, I mean, I don't know how much money's in there, but I feel like it feels like it's not being run in like a haphazard way, where it seems like the Florida one definitely was.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. I mean, it's an uncharted. It's weird to have two collectives. I would assume, like, I would think that why wouldn't the two collectives want to be one collective? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know.
That's just like very base level thinking without all of the finer details that go into this particular issue. But that strikes me. It's like I don't really get that. But I wouldn't be shocked if there's a lot of places that are a little disjointed with all of this new infrastructure in terms of like trying to set up a collective. Like you said, it seems like ASU is on the right track with it. I think it happened a little later than most places, but maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe they just wanted to be um,
Right.
pretty confident in the way that
Well, it
they
was
were
like
doing.
really a group of like fans who like got it together. And a lot of these people are like lawyers and businessmen or whatever, like
Right,
people
but
who would be able
the
to run
school
it.
took to it, right? The school's advertising it at basketball games and really behind this Sun Angel Collective thing. So that's good. I think um, again, you're going to see money flying all over the place, money pulled away from people. Obviously, we've already seen that happen. Um, but I mean, it seems like ASU's on the right track with this issue. I hope that they don't put it on the back burner. I hope that it becomes a part of the strategy.
Right.
But I hope it
I
doesn't
don't think it
become
will
the
be with
whole
Dillingham.
strategy.
Like,
Right.
Dillingham understands it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lean on that, which I think is good. I think that's how it should be. Obviously, if an athlete is at the level talent wise to be able to profit off of their name, image, and likeness, they absolutely should be able to. But I don't understand
Right.
like throwing the money and then trying to build the team later. Like I don't know,
Right.
like buying the team essentially. It didn't work out for Miami and it didn't work out for Texas A&M this year. So
Right.
maybe they're going to serve as cautionary tales moving forward.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. I mean, that kind of was a tangent from the Rashada, but it's just such a huge story, and it'll just be so interesting if he does come here. In the quarterback room, you have it would be Rashada, Drew Pine, Conover, Bourget, and then Bennett Meredith and Dalen McLemore. So
I
I don't know
I
how that
feel
would
like
play out. Someone would
yeah,
definitely leave after spring, probably two people. Um,
100%. Yeah, I
and
would imagine it's weird to like. I feel like Bourget is such a like devil for life type of guy. but I mean, what is he, a senior now?
Yeah, like I feel like I don't know. I don't feel like anyone would blame him if he
Yeah,
transferred to like a MAC school or Mountain West school because he knew he would start, or even wherever it may be. Like people would totally understand, especially if we had Rashada too.
yeah. If
Then
you
people
get
would be
if you get like a year of Pine and then
right.
Rashada.
Yeah, so that would be interesting. It's the fact. I mean, I just have to repeat this, but the fact that we're in this is because of Dillingham and the connections he makes, the offense he runs. Um, it's just a good combo, and I'll make this point again, but even if we don't get Rashada, this will lead to someone else. You know, not just because Dillingham. Clearly, a lot of these quarterbacks are interested in playing for him.
Definitely. I mean, who wouldn't be after the season?
Right?
Um why can I not
Bo
think of
Nix.
it? Bo Nix. Yeah, I've said his name multiple times. It just slipped. Yeah, the season Bo Nix had at
Yep.
Oregon underneath or under Kenny Dillingham, right? So yeah, I mean it's a very QB friendly system. Pine and Rashada would be an excellent QB room, and then there's obviously some other names as well. So yeah, well, I guess we'll keep an eye on it. TCU
Yeah.
is going to be a tough it's going to be tough to resist the allure of going there, I think, especially with what they've done.
Yep.
But who knows? Maybe Zips talks.
I'll say this. It feels like we're in the mix, and it's not like it's not a pipe dream
Yeah,
for him to
absolutely. I
come here.
wouldn't be shocked if he committed here.
No, no. At this point, I wouldn't be. And I don't know why this is coming up because it's a different coaching staff and a completely different position. But when Todd Graham was recruiting Christian Kirk
Hmm.
back, I want to say like 2014. I don't know, but it was 24. I think it was 2014. First, it didn't really feel like he was ever going to come here. You know,
Yeah,
and this time, I mean, just it feels like there's a chance. It's completely within the realm of possibility for you as an ASU fan to be like, okay, like this could happen. Will it happen? Who knows? I mean, you have Washington in there, TCU. We'll see where it goes, but um, I'm just happy that we're in this position and um, let the chips fall where they may, or the NIL direct deposits fall where they may. But speaking of 5 stars, ASU actually brought in a 5 star. This would be last week. Oklahoma transfer edge Clayton Smith commits to Arizona State. I also did not know who this guy was um, before he transferred to ASU, but he basically he didn't play much at Oklahoma, but apparently he was a freshman and a redshirt freshman. So clearly he's young and he was the 26th overall recruit in the 2021 cycle. So they had him as a top 25 player in all the country, 5 star. It's look, I haven't watched any tape on him. I can't tell you anything about him, but just the fact that someone like this is coming here uh, speaks to this coaching staff and the assistant coaches, especially Samples and Carrington from Texas. I mean, I think he's from Texas, so
yeah, it's going to be
yep.
crazy that
Texarkana.
like half of this roster is going to be guys who were brought in through the portal. It's going to look
Oh
like a
yeah,
completely different team.
yeah,
um, which you can't even really project how like it's just such a mixed bag. Like I have no idea where to even go with it. I have very high hopes based on who's coming back and who they're getting in the portal and all of these other things. I feel good. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule now. They have USC
right.
and Utah and UCLA and then Oregon. Those are some pretty tough games, right? But I mean, the other games are like and I guess Washington too with Penix in Seattle. That'll be
That's
tough.
going to be tough.
Yeah, that'll be tough.
I think
too,
Washington has a chance to make the playoff next year. I mean, they came fairly close to making it this year, honestly.
Yeah, but just looking at it, it's like I mean, I don't even know what to think because
right, totally.
where is this team going to be in terms of what they're putting on the field? It's going to be such a new experience. I think the non-conference slate is going to tell a lot. How do they play against Oklahoma State and Fresno? They don't
Yeah.
play a road game until almost October, and they only have 4
And it's
on their
at
schedule.
Cal.
Yeah. And they
Like
only have
that's a
4.
pretty easy road game to like slide into, you know.
Right. And then Colorado comes here. Deion Sanders is going to be in Tempe. That's pretty crazy.
Right.
Michael Penix in Seattle, and then you go Salt Lake in LA. But then you take Oregon comes to Tempe. It's like there's 4 road games.
8 home games.
Yeah.
God.
Which is great. I don't know, man. I don't even really know how to project this. My gut is telling me, based on what has happened with the portal and what Dillingham can do in terms of building an offense and all of these things, I think it's going to be better than maybe we expect in terms of, like, I don't think this is going to be a slow rebuild where they win like 2. So there they go 6-6 in their first year, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be something that surprises us. That's just my inkling, and I could be completely wrong. Maybe it's not, but I don't see. Obviously, USC is going to be an extremely tough game. I get that, but
yeah,
you know, but like, it's so hard to speak on it because it's like, what team is going to be on the field? I don't know.
right. No,
So,
totally.
but I'm optimistic with the way that they've built this team and the way they've hit the portal so hard. I think it could be a pretty quick turnaround. Nothing crazy, nothing like, Pac-12 championship or anything like that, but at least competitive, maybe when we don't expect them to be.
Right.
So.
And we just don't know. Yeah, the roster. I mean, a lot of these guys who've come in are like, 3-star type guys. But as we talked about, you need to fill the roster. I think you mentioned the earliest part of the schedule. So Thursday, August 31st, you host Southern Utah. Saturday, September 9th, you host Oklahoma State, who I want to get back to. But Oklahoma State has basically been like, they're like the ASU from last year in terms of how the portal has hit them. They've had a bunch of guys leave, including Spencer Sanders. I think they're running back, linebacker, one of their best corners. Like all these guys left. So it's going to be, I bet ASU will be favored against Oklahoma State at home. Let me put it that way. Fresno State, this game scares the living bejesus out of me because Fresno State they're just a good Mountain West team. And I don't think ASU is at a point where they can just like brush off a good Mountain West team,
No, not at all.
like,
but you also want those games to be competitive, right? And Oklahoma State and Fresno State, I think, are two.
Yeah, no, those should be competitive games.
Teams. Yeah. So at the very least, if they lose their third game of the season, it wouldn't be to Eastern Michigan, which is a step in the right direction.
True. And then, USC at home, Saturday, September 23rd. I bet that's going to be a really fun atmosphere, at least.
Yeah.
Last time they come here.
For sure. And then their last trip to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Is in November. That's cool.
Yeah. At Cal on the 30th, and then you host Colorado. But there's a very real possibility that you can go 4-2 in that stretch.
Yeah, definitely. The non-conference, and then
that second loss may be to freaking Colorado. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows how good they're going to be.
They're in like a similar position as we are, where it's like we just don't know. Because they're going from way worse to like getting like 5-star, 2 5-star cornerbacks. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And a possible draft guy next year at quarterback too. Like,
right. It's so weird.
A stacked, just hitting the transfer portal hard too, right?
Right.
I see Colorado and that's why I think the week 0 game would have been so.
I know. It's too bad they got axed.
But the Colorado and ASU are kind of going to be like based on the it's going to be kind of like how I mean, in baseball, it's like the Diamondbacks and the Rays are always like affiliated,
Right.
right?
I feel
So
that.
I think for the next couple of years, it's going to be like Colorado and ASU's turnaround because they were both, basement dwellers who, well, ASU not necessarily, but this past season,
Right.
who
Right.
hired these very compelling candidates, hit the transfer portal extremely hard, kind of like the new, like a face of the new strategies that you can implement
Right.
in college
Right.
football.
Yeah, totally.
So two very compelling storylines to watch there with Colorado and ASU.
Right. And then you look at the back 6 games of the schedule. 3 tough road games at Washington on the 21st of October, at Utah November 4th, at UCLA on November 11th. But one thing I will say about this schedule, there are no November trips to the Pacific Northwest. And that is always a good thing for ASU football. I think the only time they've won a November game, I think twice, they beat a bad, like a terrible Oregon State. I think this was
Oh, in
Anderson was
2020,
still there.
right?
What?
Was that in 2020?
No. Oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. Okay. I forgot about 2020. So that
I don't know, but was that might have been in November. I feel like I was somewhere for Thanksgiving.
okay, no, I guess I might be off on this. But like you know this, like ASU
No,
does
no,
not do
absolutely.
well in
I get what you're saying. I get the
yeah.
point you're trying to make. That throw out that 2020 season. It doesn't even really.
But anyway, it doesn't matter.
But
We do have to go to Utah in November, which that'll be cold, but like I don't know, I feel like we could play Utah anytime next year and we're probably going to lose. So like at this point. So and who knows, maybe they'll have a weird game. And yeah. You at UCLA, but weather won't be an issue. UCLA has not been a tough place for us to play historically. Um, at Washington, that'll be tough, but it's going to be tough. Like, you
yeah,
know, but it's awesome that you get. I love getting Wazoo at home. That is a winnable game. I don't care what transpires between here and now. That is a winnable game. Uh, Oregon at home, that's going to be tough. I mean, that's just going to be tough. But you get U of A at home, and Oregon at home, like crazy things happen. So I
yeah,
think I think it'll be important to kind of beef up early in the season. I would say because you get Cal and Colorado, who like we don't know what Colorado's gonna. I mean, Colorado's gonna be like. You still might be able to run the ball on them really well because I mean, even if they are getting transfers, like that's who knows, So
yeah. Those guys aren't
um,
playing linebacker.
exactly, yeah,
So,
yeah. So it'll be a weird team that defenses attack because, like, especially if Cormani McLean is actually this good. I mean, he's a freshman, so he'll have mistakes, but having both of them out there is just such it's crazy for the Colorado Buffaloes.
yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm excited. You got 8 games, and you get some cool opponents coming to Tempe. You get USC, obviously, Oregon, um,
Colorado.
Colorado. Yeah, you get Colorado coming to Tempe. And then, yeah, so exactly, you can go see these guys on Colorado in person too. So like, uh, and then Oklahoma State, I think Oklahoma State, like that's a good, solid Big 12 team to come, and they'll bring a bunch of fans because it's not like super far away. It's not like Virginia Tech or something where it's totally
Yeah.
across the country. Like you could make that drive if you wanted to. So
I mean, it's
uh
not close, but it's definitely
yeah.
closer than Virginia. I don't have a map in front of me, but I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
Um, Wait, I was gonna say, oh, you know what I saw today? Because the Cardinals hired Monty. What's his last name?
Their new GM.
Austin. Monty
Oh yeah.
Austin is
Bald
their new
guy.
GM, and obviously he comes from Tennessee, but he has some sort of background with the Patriots as well. And I saw this pop up on my phone, and I was working, so I couldn't really check it, but I just like stored it. I was like, that's crazy. But the Cardinals could easily do something wild. Um, for some reason, Jed Fish's name was brought up because of his connection to Monty Austin for, and I don't know if that was like Probably not as like a head coach, I would assume, but
Oh
I
my
wouldn't put
God.
anything past the Cardinals. But that connection, I don't know if I can find it or not, but that connection alone I think it was CBS Sports was interesting.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it popped up. Cardinals GM. Oh, maybe they were just talking to him. Maybe I read too far into that, but I don't know. I feel like it was something where they were like throwing his name into some sort of running. I don't know, but yeah, maybe U of A doesn't have their coach when we play them
That would
because
be.
he's working for the Cardinals. I don't know.
Oh my God. Okay. There's no way Jed Fish is gonna get hired by the Cardinals as their head coach. But if they did
Not
hire,
as their head coach, but I'm saying like there was an article that
oh,
made the connection
as like their
between
offensive coordinator or something.
some sort of position that
I
made the
don't feel like
connection.
he's gonna leave. I feel like
No,
he's
I don't think
just
so. I don't think so either. I just thought it was wild and it was such a Cardinals thing to do. So I don't know. But the reason I wanted to mention that is just in case it does happen, you can take the snippet of me mentioning it and use that as like market.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. That would be that would just be pure nirvana for me. If
Yeah.
the Arizona Cardinals hired Jed Fish as their head coach, I would be in heaven. I mean,
Yeah. I'm throwing
anytime a
around
division rival just shoots himself in the foot like that is just a glorious thing to see. But I
yeah,
think that's a little too good to be true.
I'm trying to throw around Nick Wright level analysis to put us on
Well,
the radar of all of the big dogs in the Arizona or the sports analysis game.
oh man, he must have said something bad that got you that got you upset, Colton.
I don't want to go into it. I don't want to give him the satisfaction of talking about him on our airwaves.
Despite mentioning him twice,
But,
unprompted.
but he doesn't live rent free in my head.
Yeah, totally, totally, not at all. All right, well, with that, I think things are looking up for ASU in the short-term future, even if they don't get Rashada. So, go Devils, and we'll see you next time.
Go Birds.